Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Only Leeds Bros. Hope everybody's keeping well. Big match tonight. Nerves starting to kick in. We're joined by a man who doesn't need any introduction on the Leeds United content page. Connor, how are you, buddy? Thanks for joining us.
Anytime, lads, anytime. Yeah, really good. Honoured to be invited on, mate, as always. You guys have made more than enough appearances on my channel, so I had to return the favour. But nervy for this one,
Me
weirdly.
too.
First time this season I'm looking at it and I'm a bit like, ugh. So wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm the exact same as well, Connor. We did our match build up last night and it felt okay before it. And then as we got into it, we started talking about it and changes he possibly make and will he do this and will he do that. The nerves are kind of starting to settle in now. And it feels like this is probably the first time of the season Leeds have been given a real carrot and a real opportunity, isn't it, to kind of stretch the lead, make that gap a little bit bigger. And then you look to Saturday then as well against Cardiff. That's another opportunity as well. So it's gonna be a tough one. I'm looking forward to it. Connor is doing a watch along as well, lads. To do pop into that with myself and Dylan are doing a watch along, and it's going to be an interesting one. We'll get into a couple of the chats. We have our first ever super chat, which I'm proud to say, Connor, you're here for a magic moment on Only Leeds Bros. Mighty White LUFC says, congratulations, lads, on 1K subscribers. Love the channel and your growth so quick. Going straight to the very top. I hope so. I don't think so, but I hope so. Big game tonight, 3 points Leeds, MOT. And then this one here, I'm a bit suspect on. I'm trying to find out who exactly sent this one in. I think it could be one of the lads maybe messing or something like that, but I'm not too sure. But thanks very much for the super chat. It does mean a lot and all your support. And this is the wife, Amy Clark says, big congratulations. Well deserved. Thanks very much. And then I think we have an Israeli that is very, very happy with Manar Solomon. And then we do have Danny, who's here as always, says smash a like and subscribe. So please do that. Connor, first things first that we want to get into and want to ask you about is Leeds United season so far. 18 games to go. It doesn't feel like many. It's going to go quick. How would you assess the season so far and how are you feeling about Leeds United?
Yeah, I'm content, mate. At the minute, you can't not be. Depending on tonight, tonight's massive. It feels like sort of any opportunity we've had when other teams have faltered a little bit, we've struggled to break away. But and it's a cat's cock air, isn't it, between all the teams? So it's nervy right now. But so far, it's been decent. I think a lot of people sort of maybe undervalue where Leeds are right now. You hear a lot of the Sheffield United fans and Burnley fans, almost not so much Burnley fans with all respect, but Sheffield United fans saying, it's been a tough period. It's been peddled by Wilder. We were playing a 19-year-old the other day. Well, yeah, mate, we were playing a 19-year-old at right back for the full season. Last season, Sunderland have got 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds riddled within the team. So I think this year, the job that we've done to say it's the second year of parachute payments, to say we're not in that first year, we're not a first year relegated side like Sheffield United and Burnley. I think to say we're top and to say we're still the favourites is pretty impressive as well. To say we've lost Rutter, Gray, Kamara and Somerville. I think it is really impressive. I don't want to be here next season, though. I'll have to be honest. Next season, it is a real worry for me. And I think that's probably why the nerves are jangling a bit tonight, because I think it's a real opportunity for Leeds to break away. Cardiff as well at the weekend. You win these two games, and, some of the opponents, I think Sunderland have got a tricky game at the weekend. You really start to put some distance between you and the chasing pack. And that's what Leeds need right now, because we've got a bit of a tumultuous period coming up.
Yeah, I agree with you as well, Conan. It feels like it's imperative this season for Leeds United to get out of this league. We had a bit of a fire sale in the summer. We're definitely going to see more of that this summer if we don't go up, and that's why I think probably a lot of the Leeds fans are a little bit jittery when it comes to needs must kind of games, because it's like, what if we don't do it? We need to do it. We need to get out of this league. So yeah, look, I think tonight is a massive game. Dillo, we'll bring you in, buddy. How are you feeling? You were nervous yesterday. Are you more nervous now, or have you settled down? Are you playing the match?
No, lads. Oh no, I haven't eaten a thing today. That's how nervous I am. Not a thing. I know I don't look at it with the weight that I have on, but realistically, I haven't. I actually haven't eaten a thing today. I've never been so obviously nervous about a game coming up, and I think it's more to do with the fact that there's a lot on the line here. And I know that's probably, look, if we lose, like, we're alright. But I just genuinely think for Leeds to create that gap, it's crucial, because I think we've all agreed the only team that can beat Leeds or put a stop in Leeds is Leeds. It's the only way. That's the only team that's going to stop us. But all things considered, I genuinely don't think this game is going to be a boring one. I think it's going to be end-to-end game of football. But I do think a 1-0 win will nick it for either side. But,
Yeah.
Going back to what Conor said, I just want to get out of this league. That's what it is. And I think now's the time to really make an impact and a statement to not only Sunderland, Sheffield United and Burnley, but to ourselves as well, that we really can do this. I think we're the best team in the league. Taking my Leeds off, I just genuinely do believe that. But look, it's only time will tell. And yeah, lads, I'm rattling. I'm rattling. I am, honestly.
Conor, what about you? Dylan was obviously touching on there, saying the only team that can beat Leeds. It's still, to me, very much a four-horse race. Out of Burnley, Sheffield United and Sunderland, who are you most worried about?
Sunderland, weirdly, I don't know what. Well, I do know why. But I think what the gaffer up there is not doing at the minute is really utilising Enzo Lafay. The new signing. I think he's funneling him out wide. I think he needs to get him in that central role. But I think when he starts putting him in that central role, you could see Sunderland go up a gear. He rested Chris Rigg at the weekend. I think I know he's a young lad, but he's got to be starting week in, week out. I just think in the midfield is where you win games. I think they've got a lot of athleticism, physicality, know-how. They've got good technicians in there, as I think Joe Bellingham has gone up a level this year as well. I mean, it'd be fantastic if he went toward the back end of the window, but there's a chat about them being, a little bit more inexperienced than others, but I just remember, and look, I know they're a bit of a different beast, but I remember this chat with Ipswich week in, week out, they're going to fall away. And I just don't think Sunderland, with the quality of the league, and I know they dropped points against Plymouth, but I think we're going to drop points going forward as well. I think the rest of them are going to drop points. I think when I've watched Sunderland against Burnley a couple of times, against Burnley once and Sheffield United twice, and against us, especially against us for that first 30, 35 minutes, I'll be honest, lads, shit, like this lot, they're a good team. They're a good team. And I think like of all of them, I've looked at Sunderland and thought they're a good bunch, this lot.
They have a nice mix there, Conor, don't they? They have a nice mix of youth there, which they can be very, not naive, what's the word for like youth players? They just play with no fear, don't they? They haven't kind of gone through the mill. They haven't had really any kind of downs in their career, so they just play with that fearlessness, don't they? They just go out and play football, kind of nothing to lose, and that can be dangerous, can't it? When you don't really have a lot riding on them, you can kind of play with freedom, free flowing. Where you look at our Leeds players, a lot of these players still here from last season know it was like the pressure's on. It's imperative Leeds get out of this league. Where you just see Sunderland playing football and like that, they're playing with a freedom. And this is probably the real opportunity for them, the first opportunity we've seen Sunderland for years since they've dropped down to League One to get out of this division. So I agree with you there. I still have me on Sunderland. I still think they will be there. I don't think they're going to fall away, because we've been saying it all year. Sunderland will fall away, and they just haven't. I think they're still only 4 points behind us. So yeah, they're definitely one of them sides that I look at that I think they could be thereabouts. And he's Jamie that you was on your channel, Conor, is it?
Big Jam. Yeah, he's here. He's here. Yeah.
He says, I also think an experience will be a huge benefit to the team as well. When I was younger, you seemed to be more fearless, and that's exactly what I was getting at. What were we going to say there, Conor?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I think that's it. A lot of people think they'll maybe fall off because of inexperience, but I think there's a nice blend in there. Premier League experience as well with some players in there, Chris Mepham, etc. Sirkin, left back, Tri-Hume, right back. Just a really, really good players, really decent players. And I just don't see them going away. And I think that game at Ellen Road is going to be extremely tough. I think it's going to be a really, really tough game.
It's midweek as well, isn't it? I think it's
midweek. Yeah, midweek game. So,
games.
I look at Sheffield United now. Look, I don't know if I get clipped up left, right, and centre nowadays. But I look at that Sheffield United game. I don't fear Sheffield United. I just don't. I don't think they're. I think we're better than them. Burnley could stifle us tonight, but I think that's because of how good they are defensively. Although I was speaking to a lad last night, and he was saying, "Do you know what? There's a lot of shots on target. Trafford's just an exceptional keeper at this level, which I found quite interesting." But yeah, mate, overall, I think Sunderland as a collective, I think, are the team that I'm looking at and thinking maybe they're going under the radar a little bit.
Yeah,
I agree. Dillo, who worries you out of the top four?
Yeah, I actually have to agree. I think Sunderland definitely, and then Burnley. Sheffield United, I wouldn't be too worried about. I love winding up Chris Wilder. I think it's a great. It just puts me to sleep. It's great. I love it. Absolutely love it. But I think Sunderland.
He can't stand it, can he?
He really can't.
He gets so riled up, doesn't he? It's brilliant to watch.
It's great. Even letting us know about Jayden Bogle. You know, before we found out from others. It's great. It's absolutely great.
It was
Just winding
so
that man
sour,
up just
wasn't
makes
it?
me so happy. I think Burnley, lads, to be honest with you, but I think Sunderland have that kind of flair and desire in them. Not as much as Sheffield United and Burnley, because I think Sunderland want it a little bit more than the other two, if I'm being honest. Apart from us, of course. But I genuinely believe if Leeds do beat Burnley tonight, and in the next what's left in the window, a week and a half.
7 days, yeah, this day next week.
If Farr comes out with a centre back, a striker, and a 10, and we beat Burnley, I tell you one thing.
Just 3 signings and we beat Burnley.
I tell you one thing. That'd be like that's second gear. Actually, that's sport mode for Leeds. You know,
Loss.
I think
Absolutely.
well, yeah. So
That's a bit it's mad that you mentioned that, Dylan, because that was going to be my next question to Connor. With 7 days left to go, Connor, we're not really seeing much. Buendia looks like it's not going to happen. Are you confident Leeds do enough?
Nah, I don't think we do anything, lads. I think if Stroud could have gone, it'd have been a 10-weeker. I think we'd have done something. Although to be honest, I'm not massively convinced. He does love Ampadu, doesn't he, at centre back? Yeah. Verber, I think you've got an option there which we didn't have last year when Strout went down, in terms of a left-sided centre back who can play out from the back. A lot of people forget that he plays in a Ralph Ragnick system, which is massively possession-based and build up, heavy from the back. So I think he can definitely do that at Championship level. He just needs a little bit more consistency. Could he get that at this moment in time? Well, Pascal's back next week, isn't he? So it probably wouldn't happen. So tonight it's logical probably that Ethan is playing at the back. So a left centre back, if we'd have lost Strauk, I think it'd have been imperative, because I think in those last 11 games, towards the back end of last season, especially when he came up against Adam Armstrong, I think Ampadu really struggled, and I think that's kind of forgotten because of the 10-game winning run where he was part of that side and came in. But I don't think it was solely down to Ampadu. Bamford was in there, wasn't he? And we had a few other changes which helped, I think. But yeah, overall, I get it. Look, I get hammered for this, you lads will know as well. The whole Joseph thing, it's not even just me being a stubborn git, which I can be. It is just the fact that I rate him as a second option. I think at this level, a lot of clubs would take him. I think 95-98% of clubs would take him as a second option. The Cam, I am just convinced. I am convinced that our wingers, because of how technically able they are, can do a job in that number 10.
Yeah, me too.
And I think there's been examples of it, lads. I was down at Sheffield Wednesday at the game, and the camera doesn't follow him. I mentioned this on my stream. The camera doesn't follow him, but every time Ramazani wants the ball, he just comes central, because Leeds build up vertically, and he wants the ball. So if you want the ball in football, you lads will have played it. You don't go out wide, dear. You don't go out wide. You come centrally to try to pick the ball up, and that's exactly what he did, like, numerous times, and he's been effective there when he's come back. So I'd be looking at him in there. I don't see the downside at all from Ramazani in that 10 to Aronson. I don't understand what the drop-off is. Is it pressing? Because Ramazani's got more recoveries in the final third than any other player in this Leeds side. So, I do look at it and think there's an option there. So that's why I'm not as heavy as Dale and others on that number 10. I do get it. I completely get it, because, if an Emi Buendia, I've said it in a video before, if Emi Buendia becomes available and he wants to come to Leeds, I mean, he's up there with Pablo Hernandez, isn't he, in terms of quality at this level. You look at the clubs that have been after him, though, Leverkusen, Atalanta, it's just never going to happen in a month of Sundays, is it? So what player, I think, lads, when we're looking at transfers, Leeds have got to have a long-term view. I look right now at Sheffield United. I look at Sheffield United and I look at Tom Cannon. I look at Ben Brereton Diaz. That isn't a long-term plan for the Premier League for me. That's not a long-term Premier League plan.
Have you heard this one, Connor? The second time you mentioned Oxlade Chamber. I haven't seen that now. Before I left work, took an scan.
I've not seen that, mate. No, I mean, he needs, if he was a horse, he'd have been put down a long time.
That's what I was just about to say. The last thing I think we need to do as Leeds United is sign a player that's injury prone and has a track record of him. I just think it'd be very, very foolish, wouldn't it? I know Buendia has been out with an ACL prior to that. His injury record has been decent enough. I just think he is coming back from that long-term injury. And obviously, I think we've already kind of taken our punt on an injury-type player with Manor Solomon, and it seems to be going okay, touch wood, at the minute. So, yeah, I can't see us going down that route of Oxlade Chamberlain. I actually haven't even seen the link, so I must go digging for that one. Connor, bringing it back to tonight's game, What are you thinking tonight's game? I think a lot of people are kind of saying cagey, nil all kind of all over it, one goal either side. We had James on from Not Another Leeds podcast tonight, and he said 3-0 Leeds very, very confidently, and he believed it. What way are you?
I was convinced last night. I kind of went with the 2-1 Leeds win, but I had a visit lad on my channel last night, and he's completely convinced me that it's going to be a score draw. I just for everything tells you. I mean, we've got the best attack in the league. They've got the best defense. It's so interesting though, because I think, right, if we didn't have that New York bagel in net, if we didn't have him in net, I genuinely believe we'd be
brilliant.
We'd be 7 or 8 goals. We'd be 7 or 8 goals better off, wouldn't we, lads? So I look at the fact they've conceded 9. We've conceded 19. How many has he thrown in? So
I think easily 6, Connor. I think that's being easy. I think that's being very, very lenient on him. But off the top of my head, that's 6, which is not good, is it? That is not good.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit like, if you don't have him in there, we're sort of 6 points better off if you look at those 3 whole goals, in my opinion. And then obviously, you look at the Sunderland calamity, and you've got to be looking at it and thinking we wouldn't be that far off, would we? I don't think we'd be that far off. So, for me, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. But I think where I kind of want Ramazani in for this one as well is he just shoots, lads. He shoots, and his shot efficiency is really good. Left foot, right foot. He invariably gets them on target, and I think we need to be testing Trafford a little bit, because from what I was being told last night, they do concede a lot of shots, and that makes me think, well, they're getting away with it a little bit, and Trafford is keeping them in games. He's made he's made a ridiculous amount of saves as well this season, so it does tell you that you can get through them. I think what they do is they pull Jadon Anthony back, they pull their other winger back on the other side, and they go into almost a 6 and a 7. And obviously Koleosho's gone off the boil, hasn't he? Since we've got more than enough to beat them. This is the annoying thing. We've got more than enough to beat them. It's just, is it going to be another day at the office where they're just sitting in and counter-attacking against Leeds, and they've got it with a lot of quality, haven't they?
Even at that though, Connor, it seems to be what I've been touching on. I've been noticing it lately with Strike being out. Ampadu, I'm not solely blaming him, but when the ball is back with the centre halves, the slow bit, just the build of play is too slow. Basically, it takes Ampadu a minute or two to kind of release the ball, considering whether it is over the top, if he wanted to put it over the top or play it through the lines. But going back to what you said about Ramazani, I completely agree. He does have a pop, but what I actually love about him, lads, is his strength. Even though he's so small, he holds up the ball really well. Like there's players and they're not getting near him. Like even that goal that he scored, it was, I know the finish was, and I keep saying it, I just can't get over how he held the players off, and then obviously put his body around it and place it into the bottom corner. But yeah, I'd love nothing more to see him in that 10. And I know I've been banging this drum about Aronson. I like him. I just want the chap to rest. That's all I want. Just play something else. I'm looking for, like, going into the Premier League. I don't expect him to play the 10.
So that's it as well, Dylan. You've got your best player, haven't you? Arguably, anyway. You've arguably got your best player on the bench here, and a lot of people, I think, need to cast their minds a little bit back to that pre-injury Ramazani, and he's getting kind of back to those levels again, isn't he? You just think to yourself, you've got to get him. He's a difference maker, isn't he? He's a game changer. You simply have to get him in this side, and I think there's one, not a weak link as such, but you were talking about slowing the play down a little bit. I think Aronson is always susceptible to taking that extra 2 or 3 touches. I think he's done well this season. I think he has done well this season, and he's surprised me. But I think those 2 or 3 extra touches sometimes can enable a team to get the shape back a little bit, and Leeds aren't as exuberant on that counter-attack. If we're able to do that, if we're able to spring into action tonight quickly and emphatically, they won't stand a chance. I don't think any team stands a chance against Leeds when we are in full flow. So, yeah, we've got Nonto's the interesting one, isn't he? What on earth is happening with him? Is it, we had, Gabe on the channel. He was pretty ruthless about him this morning, and I'm not on that level yet, but
I've kind of gave him a bit of leeway. Just considering the post that he put up about the 100 appearances for Leeds, for me, because in the back of my head, Darren kind of put it in my head. I was getting the vibe he's 1 foot in, 1 foot out sort of vibes.
Yeah.
But now he's with that post, it kind of reassured me. So now I'm just looking for the performance and that bit of quality. At times he can be very greedy, he can be very, silly, just childish, going down. But as part of arguing with the referee and all, he's matured in that way. I'm just looking for him to kind of step it up an awful lot, considering probably at the start of the season, you would say maybe possibly he would have been our best player. And to be honest, he's fourth pick for me now at the minute.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that shouldn't be the way.
It's crazy. It's crazy to say that about Nanto, lads, isn't it? Because I think we all thought after Wembley, Conor, I don't know what you were thinking was, but I remember walking out of Camden in Dublin, and the first one I thought in my head, I was like, probably Willie Nanto's the first one out the door. He's probably already handed in a transfer request. So it blows my mind that he was still the one left here. But then it very much felt like then this is it. He was going to be our star man. He was going to be our player and number one. It's going to be anything but that. But that goes down to the brilliant performance of James and Solomon. They've been outstanding. Ramazani as well has been a real shrewd signing. When you look back and we signed him and he was coming from La Liga, you're kind of thinking he's one of them that you're kind of taking a chance on. Could he do it in this league, the Championship, physical? He can do it. Now he had his injury before that. He's arguably probably our best player before he gets the ankle injury, and you can see him. He's coming back into his own now. It looks outstanding, but it is a weird one, and I think it's a frustrating one with Nanto because we remember him in the Premier League, that player that Michael Richards says kind of burst onto the scene. He was a player that supposedly wasn't Premier League ready according to Jesse Marsh. He comes on, he does what he does, scores at Old Trafford. Part of the build-up goal, Somerville scores at Anfield, and he looked really, really good. And I think since that Premier League season, we haven't seen that Nanto consistently. He's very much dropped off. He will come in for games, and he'll do well. And I remember Plymouth last season in the Cup, he was very, very good down there. And then he goes through a dip again, especially towards the end of the last season. I still go back, I think Dan James should have started at Wembley because Nanto was poor for that run up for me. So it's a frustrating moment, Nanto. I really, really want him to get his form back, especially towards the run into the end of the season, because it could be very important if he can kind of hit his levels and get back to his levels.
He's 21. He's 21, you know. Ramazani's 23.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. When you think
it's the other way, wouldn't it?
When you think about him in the Premier League, when obviously he was having that decent season, 19 doing that goal against Man United, 19. So it is one of those. I think Somerville was even older than him. So there is a player there. There is a player there, and ultimately, if Leeds get rid of him, they've got to get some really good value for him. And it looked good on PSR anyway, because I think we brought him in for like 4.8 million, didn't we? So, but I think I've heard a lot of it. I mean, Gabe was saying this morning that if good money comes in for him, sell it. I think that's just preposterous talk. I think you sell him, you weaken Leeds United right now, and I don't want to. Look, let's not go down that route. If we're not bringing players in, let's not weaken Leeds United. I mean that's one of my big things. I've seen Danny there as well on the Byram discussion.
That was literally that was going to be.
He's ready to get my temperature going, isn't he, Darren?
Yeah. Well, I was going to bring this to you, Conor, because it very much is one of them. You know what Daniel Farke is thinking going boys lineup. I think if he starts with Rotwell and Firpo, we're very much going for it. If it's Gruev and Byram, it's very much sit in, risk averse, slow football, build up, take a chance when it comes. What do you think he does, Conor?
I think, to be fair, I mean, I put a tweet out a little bit earlier on in terms of him sticking Gruev in there, and we know he's a massive fan, isn't he? Of what it feels like now is drop two is Tanaka and Rothwell. I think we've seen that recently. I think Gruev coming in for this one, maybe I stuck out on Twitter what I think he'll go for, but I've thought about it again. I think Gruev coming in for this one when he's not had 90 minutes. It's a very, very tall order for me. Yeah, especially, I mean, their midfield's going to be what? Cullen, Brownhill, Hannibal. It's going to be a good midfield at this level. So he's going to have to, he's only had 20, 25 minutes, hasn't he? So I think it will be Tanaka in there. I think it'll be Rothwell. I think he's going to go Byram. I'd be really stunned if he didn't go Byram. And I think if you're Burnley, I think if you're Jadon Anthony on that right-hand side, I think every time he gets the ball, you press his touch. And I think then Byram will naturally go to his centre-back, the nearest centre-back, which will be Ethan Ampadu, which is going to put a little bit more pressure on him to build out from the back. And that is why, just for me, the thing is, lads, we've all played football at whatever level. If you press on your weak foot, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. You want it. You don't want it. You don't want the ball on that weak foot, and you can see it with Sam every time. I don't dislike Sam on that right hand side. I think I'd have no problem with Sam Byram on that right hand side. Literally, I wouldn't even speak about him. I'd be like, I don't mind Sam. As almost like a step down to Bogle. But there's no way he can play on that. Well, he can play on that left, but for me, he's not a progressive left back whatsoever. And just watch him tonight. Do a player cam. Just watch him tonight. Anytime he's pressed on that first touch on his left foot, he will naturally go back. He's not a left-sided player, and we don't progress on that side. So I think it naturally inhibits Leeds' width as well. That's how I see it anyway. But could be wrong.
I think this one is for you, Conor.
What's this? We do win games with Byron playing, lads. This narrative is negative. Okay, let me break it down. I see it a lot. This I get hammered for it. Look, that's exactly what I was saying. So on the right hand side, got no problem with Sam Byram, as I say, 'cause it's his strongest side. As I say, I encourage all of you to watch if he's pressed on that touch, which Wednesday did to him. And who did we play last, fellas? Who did we play last time?
Norwich.
Norwich. I don't know if Norwich did it. Firpo, did he start? There's 2
I
games. Anyway.
very much noticed that the one game that stood out for me, Conor, I know exactly what you're going to say, is because it frustrated me as well. I think he's brilliant defensively. His shape is good. He's not afraid to put in a tackle, considering his injury record. But I think at times as well, he does stifle our play down that left-hand side. He's always going to come back in on that stronger right foot. And it was Swansea. It was Swansea the game away where he just kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it, kept coming back inside. And in that game against Swansea, it was very much looking like we wanted our width from our fullbacks, Byram and Bogle. Byram did do it. He ran himself into the absolute ground. He was involved in the 4th goal as well for Nanto getting forward there. But I do agree with you at times. And we seen it in the last game, Conor, when Firpo came on. What he done, what he offered going forward, just the difference, what he does. But I do think Byram has been outstanding. Like Colin, Mr. Dependable. He will come in and do a job defensively when we are in injuries. But yeah,
well, it's just so you know when he's getting the ball. If he's getting the ball on that left-hand side, his back will be to the winger. His back will be towards the winger because he knows he's going to invert. He's not got an open body approach whatsoever. Whereas when Firpo receives the ball, he's got a stance of which you can see he can go on his left or he can cut inwards. So it gives Leeds variety in terms of what we can do. Sam Byram with his back to the winger, you always know that he's going to cut back inside. Now, if you pack out that midfield, that means that Leeds United are going to be overrunning there a little bit. And for me, that's just what you get with Sam. I think on that right hand side, he's much more effective. I think on that left hand side, Leeds really struggled. There's barely any overlaps when it comes to Sam Byram in terms of in play and on the ball. It's a lot of Sam's. I think a lot of Sam's play on that left hand side. You have to play the ball over the top, and he'll try beat the offside trap, but there won't be any combinations between him and the left sided player. It doesn't happen.
I think we did touch on it yesterday, Darren. Was it with James? I can't really remember. If Firpo is on the pitch with Bogle, it seems to be that Firpo will be the one to kind of gradually go forward. Yeah. Now, with Firpo being out, it's Bogle that's been doing that. So maybe I'm starting to think with Byram when he
doesn't let 2 go, Dylan, doesn't he? No, he never seems to let 2 go.
It's one or the other. So if Bogle and Firpo are on, maybe look, I'm just throwing it out. Is it going to be Firpo that will be going more higher, Bogle to kind of drop off? Because it's something that we have been touching on with Bogle, and I've been loving him lately, is that defensively he's improved massively. Because it was touch and go there for a while. He was going forward, he was good, but the defensively part, it was a bit dodgy. But now overall play, he's been just consistent and he's been doing his job really, really well. So I'm actually interested to see if Firpo does start tonight, who is the one that's going to be going a bit more forward? Because that partnership between Bogle and DJ, it can't be beaten. If DJ starts, of course. So it's a bit of a head scratch. But back to the Byram situation, lads. Look, Byram was brought in to cover. That's basically what he's, and I will agree to a certain degree. He doesn't give you that same overlap and run you could say that Firpo does give you. But what he does give you...
Left back, is he?
No. What he does give you, though, is that he'll win the ball and he'll take a silical yellow card if he needs to. Yeah. And he wears his heart on his sleeve, lads. And that's what I like about Byram. Is that he will cover.
It is as well from Byram, lads. He is a threat from set pieces as well. We have seen him get goals as well. He is good in the air. He is very good in the air, which I think at times with Firpo as well. He isn't too good with Firpo. I think he's very much comfortable letting the ball go over his head and use his pace to try and get back onto where Byram's very much go, win the ball, like front foot, get in with the tackles and stuff like that. So they're 2 totally different players, and it is the old saying, different horses for different courses. I think tonight I would like to see Firpo. I think it very much depends on what they're thinking of Daniel Farke is and how probably fit Firpo is. But you could see when he came on, lads, against Norwich, the difference down that left-hand side. We really, really took control then, which was before that. And I don't blame Byram. He's played an awful lot of football for someone that has the injury record that he has and the recovery sessions that I imagine that he has to go through week in, week out just to get his body right to go out and play football. I think is unbelievable, and like what you said, Dylan, he puts his heart on the line all the time and heart on his sleeve, and he's definitely Leeds through and through. Conor, I do want to ask you about the man on the other side, Jayden Bogle, because Dylan did touch on him there. He's been absolutely standing. He came in probably very much with one of them. We loved it at the time. We touch on Chris Wilder announcing it to Sheffield United fans. He's not that great. We were kind of saying he's only kind of saying that. We've very much seen in their first couple of matches with Jayden Bogle. His defensive was really, really poor. It's something that he's really improved on over the last couple of weeks, and the last 2 games he's been outstanding. He doesn't constantly seem to be making that overlap and run that he used to be doing. He's very much now doing underlap as well and stepping inside, nearly making a 3-man midfield. What have you thought of that?
Yeah. I think a lot. I can't remember the game it was where he was almost acting as a bit of a Trent Alexander-Arnold. It was the most obvious. I don't know if it was a Swansea again. It might have been Darren. I'm not sure, but he was almost acting as that extra midfielder. Now for me there's another level with Jayden Bogle that you can get out of him. I look at the team that was around him at Sheffield United. I think that can be a lot better, and you're improved massively, aren't you, by players around you being a lot better as well, especially at Premier League level. I'll be honest. Portsmouth aside, I've even looked at his defensive performance, and I've had lots of people disagree with me on this. I've not really seen that much of a shaky performance. I thought Sheffield Wednesday earlier on in the season he was outstanding right at the beginning and won that game 2-0. Absolutely outstanding in that game, and I thought he sort of kicked on from there really. But the Norwich game, four successive tackles out of 4. The amount of dribbles he gets through, his consistency. He never loses the ball, which I think is the most underrated attribute, lads, in possession. If you don't lose the ball,
for the way that he plays, Conor, as well, to get forward as well, to not be losing the ball in what he's doing, progressive at pace, it's really good, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Not running at pace. He's a quick lad and keeping the ball in his possession, always making the right choice as well. Decision making's on point. He's been an exceptional signing. 5 million quid. I was taking the piss out of a Sheffield United fan I have on the channel. Alfie, he wanted Alfie Gilchrist over him. He's had to have a lie down. He's not come back online for about 3 days, I don't think. But yeah, mate, they're all salty. They're all very, very salty. He's gone, and they'll try do somersaults to convince us that Siriki or whatever his name is and Gilchrist are better footballers than Jayden Bogle. There's absolutely no chance in a month's son. He's the best fullback in the him and Try Hume at Sunderland. But I think I'd give it Bogle. I think Bogle's by far the best. 100%.
I agree.
And it does feel like there's another little level there to go with him, Conor, doesn't it? It doesn't feel like that's a scene he's reached it. I think there's more level, like you said, and we've seen that. Farker's obviously seen it as well. Something in him that he's not just an overlapping fullback that can't defend. He is very much one of them that can be versatile, can't step into midfield. And I'm just loving it. It is just to be that versatile, and it's very hard to defend against that, isn't it? Because you don't know whether he's going to go over the lap. If he is going to go inside, you constantly have to have someone on him. And that's where I think he's going to be in our outlet ball. I think it was the run against, was it Sheffield Wednesday, lads, where he ran past 4 players.
It was unbelievable.
Like, absolutely outstanding. So, yeah, he's one for me. I hope I'd be looking at him tonight as well to kind of be that kind of outlet again. Another top performance from him tonight. Dillo, you want anything else to add, buddy?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's what I'm loving about Bogle lately. Is these another stutter, lad? Sorry, is these runs that he does make? It's phenomenal. Just brushes off the defenders so easily, and he makes it look so easy as well. But then what's really making him flare a bit more is DJ, lads. You have to give him a bit of gratitude as well. He's making the partnership between the two of them is just immense.
Brilliant, isn't it? Yeah.
And with DJ with that kind of pace, and I genuinely think if Ramazani does play in that 10, which I'm just dreaming, I'm going off topic, and Pirro up top, it's just unbelievable. Like that's serious thing. And then you look at the bench, and as I said, that's something that we didn't have last season. Is when you look at the bench now, you're going to say, I'm actually very excited to see who does come on. Whereas last season I was going to just get someone on at this stage.
I think that's why it's almost like putting the onus on Farker as well, really. And he's doing a good job right now. I'm content with what he's doing. But the squad, every other team would tell you, you'll speak to Burnley fans, Sheffield United fans, Sunderland fans, look at the Leeds squad. And you can bring Hamza Chowdhury in, Ben Brereton, Diaz, Tom Cannon. You can bring in Kyle Walker, whatever. It doesn't matter. Leeds' squad is still better than the rest. You look at the depth we've got. You sort of, what do you use, lads? What would you say? Sort of, in a match day, you use sort of 14, 15 players, don't you? You don't need 28, 29, 30 players. Use 14, 15 on a match day, really. That's your squad, really, that you utilise. We know the subs that are coming on every single game at the exact same times as well. And I just think that what we've got right now is an abundance of quality. So I do put it on Farker a little bit right now. And it's not it's up to the players, by the way. But I do put it on Farker. I'm like, with this squad, mate, you've got to get promoted. You've got to get promoted, and that's where he'll be judged. And that's maybe why I'm not as emphatic as in the transfer window. And it's not because I don't want him to have the tools to get promoted, but I think he's got to have the right tools to get promoted. And I think the recruitment in the summer was really, really good. Yeah. I think we've got rotation options across the entire squad. for me, it's not one of those, and it's just pivoting back to the window again. I know at points you might need some extra help, this, that, and the other. But this squad, you look at it now, we're top of the division, and we've thrown 6 points away minimum this season. So, you iron that out. We've got 35% of the season remaining. Beyond the 28th of Feb, when we play Sheffield United, I think our running is the best running in the top 6. So he's got. But what I will say, Dill, is it's the best running. But you know what happens with these teams when they're fighting relegation towards the back end of the season? They all
Leeds.
They all turn into top teams.
Remember QPR? We thought we were going down to QPR for an easy win, and basically, seeing us come into the playoffs. So football's unpredictable, and especially the championship. But we've seen it. This one here, lads, kind of links in with me next question that I do want to ask you. So Becchio's bulge, which is quality name, if you ask me. So this question for the lads: which of our wingers do you think is best suited for the 10 role? I'd say Solomon personally. Connor, we'll come to you. Would you agree with that one?
Yeah, I think he's right. I think he's ultimately right. I think Ramazani can play there. I think Nonto's shown this season at Sheffield Wednesday away that he can play in there. I think Nonto's better in the 10 than he is wide right. I think he's better wide left than he is wide right. I think wide right's his weakest position. But I would say Solomon, yeah. I think all the attributes, lads. This is kind of what annoys me as well, this whole notion of if you're a winger, you can't play number 10. Yeah, you can. I mean, you literally had Jorginho Rutter moving on, and then Brendan Harrison, who's playing left wing in pre-season, moved into central attacking midfield 5 days later. He's done pretty well this season. I'd say he's adapted pretty nicely. So if you get someone with
Look
a
at
high
Pablo, Connor. When Pablo was at Swansea, he was doing.
Yeah. 100%, mate. Good one there. And obviously, Buendia's another one, isn't he? Buendia, who at Norwich was wide right, and Villa, he's played in that 10 role. So you can meander and you can pivot into that role for me. And we have a lot of players in that front line who have the attributes to fit into that number 10 role. Solomon, I think, probably he's more of the Pablo, isn't he? He's more of the Buendia. He's a diminutive lad. He's low centre of gravity, great balance, can go either side. And I think he's got a really good vision. I think he's really good, visually, and I think he'd help out the number 9 there. I think he's quick of thought as well and good decision making. So yeah, I think a lot of them would fit into that 10 role as well. So yeah, I think I'd agree with Becchio there. I think Solomon's probably the one who'd fit in nicely there.
Yeah, I'd agree. Solomon and then Ramazani then for me. I think both of them. Yeah, I don't agree with the rhetoric because we've seen, I think it was, I can't remember what game it was definitely at Ellen Road, and we seen Aronson and move out from the number 10. I think it was when he dropped Pirro back into the 10. Joseph went up top, and then he put Brendan Aronson out on the left hand side. And there is this rhetoric that wingers can't play the 10, but then the 10 can play a winger. So it doesn't really make sense. And yeah, I think Farke, he definitely does have the tools to do it. I would like to see us just get a little bit of cover in centre half. To me, that's still the position where I'm a little bit jittery over. So I'd be happy enough if we got a centre half. I'd be happy enough with that. We do want to touch on the number 10 position. Brendan Aronson is the one that we have been talking about. Connor, what have you made of obviously a season so far? He came back under hard circumstances. For me, I thought he's done very well. Is there a little bit of fear in you that we might be flogging him a little bit, especially coming towards the business end of the season?
Yeah. I think he's gone through phases, hasn't he, where he's been really good. I think Oxford game in and around that, he was excellent. And you almost saw a little bit, I thought, of an elevation in his game where the speed of thought, the less touches, the quick movement, and I think all that encompasses in a confident Brendan Aronson. It's not like he's not confident right now, but in the Sheffield Wednesday game in particular, there's a few moans and groans where I was when he kind of lost the ball and was falling over a little bit. He gets himself into excellent position. His off the ball movement's exceptional. His interpretation of where the ball is going to drop is the best in the team. I think he's positionally he's very good, but I think a lot of the time you can see with Brendan, I think, I played football at a decent level. When I take an extra 1, 2, 3 touches, it's because at that point I wasn't confident. I might have gone through a bit of a barren spell. The midfielder might be getting the best out, the best of me in that game in particular. I take an extra touch to give myself that assurance. I think that's what's happening at this moment in time. He's got to be managed. He's got to be managed. And I think, but I don't think he sees any of the others as 10s. And that's the worrying factor for me. Yeah. So maybe as Dillo said, you do go into the market. I wouldn't, but that's coming from a Connor headspace. If I think you can, transition other people in there. But if he just sees Aronson as the number 10 and what the 4 guys Peru, that is a bit of an issue. I think that is a bit of an issue. But I guess against Harrogate there was a bit of variation there in terms of who was in that 10. That gave me a little bit of hope, but. Yeah, I think if he doesn't see any of those wingers at all as substitutes for Aronson in that I would be a little bit worried, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm very much. Dylan, you're thinking on Brendan Aronson?
Look, I'm going to sound like an Aronson hater, but I'm not. Going back to Portsmouth, the first game of the season, we were at it there. And, to come on first game of the season, getting slated over by certain individuals, fans, whatever, social media, etc. To score that, the first goal. Sorry, the goal that he scored, completely changed it. But then obviously the sitter that he missed. I genuinely think if he had scored that goal, we would have had a completely different opinion on to what we have now. But I feel sorry on him because I just think that he's playing too much football. And at times, you said it down as well, when we are trailing a game or when the game is dead or when it's not working, Pirlo's not your answer. Not your answer. And to leave Brendan Aronson on, see him struggling is hard to watch. And as Conor said there, if he's Fark's talking about this going into the transfer market and getting a 10. I don't want him to do that if he does use the wingers. Because there's nothing more in the world I'd be happy to see Solomon go in there.
Yeah.
But he's not doing it. So just go out and buy one then if you're not going to utilise your wingers to go into the 10. Yeah. But then, like, as Conor said as well, like he does a lot of pressing, he doesn't stop running. And I have to give him that, and that's what us as Leeds fans like to see. I'll always give someone a pat on the back or gratitude when I see them trying. And that's what he does. There's times when he does go a little bit dead and jaded, but like you can't blame the chap at the end of the day. He's playing so much football. Travelling as well, like over to the US that time on the international break and coming back like whatever it is, not even 24 hours and playing, starting for Leeds United again the next day. Like that's brilliant. So like his commitment for the team is unbelievable, and I have to give him that. But it's more just the fact of maybe at times does he feel like he's overconfident, because maybe that's something that with the too many touches that he's taken could be in the back of his head. Because there was one, I can't remember what game it was there, I lost it on the stream anyway, you probably remember, where he did take too many touches and he could have just played James in.
I think it wasn't. I think it was Sheffield Wednesday where he was running the options either side of him, and he just kept taking no touch.
Did it 4 or 5 times.
And he just kept running into traffic, just running into your man. It's just like, just pick a decision. Either one was right. Just go left or right. Just don't try and be smart. Don't try and beat the man. You're already at the
two things can be right though, Daz. You can say that he's had a good season, but you can say as well that there's certain parts of his game which drastically need improving. And then you've got to look at the long-term effect of Brendan Aronson with the contract that we've got him on, with the long-term view of what Brendan Aronson was at Leeds United. Would he acclimatise to the Premier League? For me, no way. That ain't going to happen right now. So there are still finite parts of his game which need to be drastically improved for him to acclimatise that next level, of which was the promise of Brendan Aronson when Leverkusen and Liverpool and Dortmund were all interested in him a year before Leeds signed him, and then we went and signed him. But he isn't, I don't think, as a fan base. I think we're sort of looking at the here and now, but I think you kind of need these elements of his game to improve for us to turn around and go, oh yeah, he'll fit in the Premier League. He'll at least be a bench option in the Premier League. But right now, I'm still not convinced with Brendan, even though he's had a better season than I thought he would. But two things can be right.
I think another thing as well, though, like with every position that is on the pitch, apart from Meslier, you have that kind of rotation, and if someone does get injured, whether it's Boyer coming on, Wober, or just anywhere in the position, you've Tanaka, you've Gruev, you've Rotwell, you've Ampadu doing bits, and even up top, and of course, obviously the wingers. But the 10 doesn't. That's what the issue is. And I've said it week in, week out.
I think we know, though, Dylan, and Conor touched on it there, Dylan. Sorry for cutting across you, but I think we probably know who the backup is, lads. And I think in my head, I think he thinks Pirlo was the number 10. If Aronson gets injured, I think it's
not the answer.
To me,
I wouldn't mind a front two. I still don't mind a front two if he wants to do that. Two up top. Him and Joseph.
Willie, though, Conor, that's it, because he doesn't seem to deviate from this formation. It's very much the 4-2-3-1, isn't it? We don't see anything else from Daniel Farke apart from times against Norwich last season where he just goes wholesale, doesn't he? It's just like, go on, play wherever you want, and it's all a bit kind of helter-skelter and cause havoc. That's the only time we ever really see him come away from the 4-2-3-1 formation. But for me, that's where I have the issue with if something does happen to Brendan Aronson, especially you look forward to that March international break. If he does go away, God forbid, if something happens to him, lads, and he comes back injured, and then we're experimenting, then who our number 10 is, I think that's what will have the fear of God in me, lads. I wouldn't like that. And then if he does decide then to pull Pirro back in the 10, we've seen it so many times. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. So if he is thinking that, that's where I would put a centre half then ahead of that and say, right, go get one then. Very, very last question, because I'm conscious, Conor, that you have your watch along coming up now as well. Very last one I want to touch on is Joe Pirro. The last 2 games, I think we can all see, hasn't been great from. Being very, very much a silent man in the squad. We haven't seen much from him, hasn't scored. Is it just this wretched ground, Joe Pirro, that when he doesn't score, he doesn't play well? Or is he genuinely just not contributing to the team?
Dill, you go, mate.
This man is going to score a goal tonight. All right, that's it.
Why do you think I said Dill? You go, mate.
Exactly. Now, look, he's, Darren, you've said it yourself. When he does, when it's not on for him, he just looks. He's running around like a. No, he's just not on it. And then you can see him kind of dropping back into that kind of 10 to pick up the ball. But then what the issue is, when you have DJ running around like just pure lightning speed, Pirro can't get into the box. So it's kind of defeats the whole purpose. And I genuinely think, and Danny especially is going to laugh at this one, I think Joseph should start tonight. And I'm being honest, because I think he'll stretch the defenders a bit more and bring a Pirro on come the 70th minute. Could be a game changer. Could be a winning goal.
He had that massive chance, didn't he? When he went through 3 minutes in against them last time out, and he blazed it. He had to score.
Miles, and it wasn't even a bit wide, Conor. It was bad.
Smacked it 3 yards wide on it. So.
I don't want to
look
hear
at Conor. Then Pirro doesn't get there, does he? Pirro hasn't got the pace for me to burst through that. Pirro was very much, I'd say, probably holding it up, and then trying to work his way into space. Then.
I think he cuts back and waits for the count. Back in.
Yeah. That's what I think the difference is between Joseph and Pirro. I'm interested to see tonight. I probably want to see Pirro tonight, even though he hasn't played well the last 2 games. The reason being, I think it's probably going to be one of them games with very limited chances. And I think if any chance falls to anyone in this Leeds team, I think it's Pirro, because I think he's lethal in that position. So that's probably where I would advocate for him to start. Yeah. But there still is a show. It's a tough one, because I really do like Joseph. I really, really do. I think there's a player in there. I do think the sky's the limit for that guy. It's just his finishing, and it's something he can work on, Conor, isn't it? He has everything else in his game. He runs the channel well. He's strong. He holds the ball up. He can pass it. We've seen against Sheffield Wednesday, his away at Hillsborough, the pass through for the Dan James goal. He has got vision as well. The only part of his game that is lacking at the minute is finishing. But it's a good thing, because it's something that he can work on, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. And he gets a goal. I've said this throughout. I remember the stick Rutter got. The stick Rutter got was madness. Like when he first came in, as if it was his fault. He cost 40 million. And if it was his cost, Victor Orta decided to splash all that money on him. But he got absolutely hammered. He's a donkey. He was crap. This, that, and the other. And I've just got a very similar arc in my head to Joseph, I think, at some point. And if he was a Gelhardt, I like Joe. I did like him, but I was a little bit like, where is he? What's his shtick? Where is he in this side? As a young lad. Greenwood, very similar. I was a bit like, I can't really see it here. But Joseph's the one for me who there's just something there. There is something there. I'm convinced of it. And I just think, and this is why I've never changed my mind on it. It's not a case of being proven right, because currently I guess I'm not being, because he's not getting the goal return. But I think you give him games. I think if he gets on that score sheet, he's going to be a little bit less rash. I think he's going to, stay in the box a little bit more, which I think he needs to do. Sometimes I think he almost tries to do that Harry Kane, where he's coming to find the ball, but he doesn't have that range of passing to sort of, advocate him coming so deep and utilising that as a bit of his style of play, I think. But there's a lot there. There's a hell of a lot there. He's still a kid. And I think the reason there were so many clubs after him in the summer, well, there's a point behind it, really. So yeah, I think you've got to stick with him. But right now, yeah, I prefer him. That's the thing. I prefer him. When I look at Leeds as a unit, I prefer him. So I'm always going to go for him starting. But I completely understand the fact that Peru has got a better hit rate, and Peru is the one who you want on the end of something. And maybe that's what puts Peru ahead of it. And that's kind of where it's very much like, well, okay, if that's the case, then that's fine. The problem is, he's paronymous for a lot of it, isn't he? And I think that's the problem. Sometimes it feels like we're playing with 10 men. But yeah, it's the workhorse versus the finisher, isn't it? So as a striker, striker.
Why don't we just combine the two of them together?
Yeah.
Just make one solid unit.
Well, if you did get something like that, then they're definitely not a Leeds lad to start.
And Robbie's just put as well, you can't coach finishing, it's a natural talent. And I remember Ollie Watkins getting a lot of flack at Brentford. I know he had some really good seasons at Brentford, but right at the start, they used to give him a hell of a lot of flack because of his finishing ability. You sometimes still see it now, and that's kind of why some Villa fans prefer John Duran. But I do think over the years, Watkins has developed a real killer instinct. And I think that can be coached, to be honest with you. So,
yeah, so do I. I think
the whole natural talent thing, I think it gives you a yard, it gives you a chance. Obviously, it gives you a little bit of a head start. But I don't think it's just natural talent and that's it. Because then what's the point never working on anything if you're a striker? There's no point, is there?
Yeah, well, that's what you see them in training, constantly working on the finish as well. And I do think it is something that they definitely can work on. Lads, look, I think we leave it there. We're nearly at the hour mark, nearly time to do the watch along and get into it. Conor, again, thanks very much for giving up your time. I know how busy you are with the 2 channels and everything else you've gone on. So it's been a pleasure to have you on here. Really, really enjoyed that one.
Anytime, lads, you need to, and you're coming on, aren't you? You're coming on post-match.
That's what I was just about to say. Yeah, we'll be over with you on post-match. I think 10:30, and we going 10:30 for the instant match reaction.
Yeah,
hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's a good one.
Yeah, hopefully it's a good one. Hopefully we're not having a depression.
These games, because it's so nervy. These games make me want to drink, but I'm on the non-alcoholic Guinness stuff, which is 2 Irish men. You're probably going to be spitting at me for that one. So
not non-alcoholic, Conor.
I don't want to hear it.
Lads, look, I think we leave it there. Thanks very much for popping in. We will be back at 8:15 for our match watch along. Conor's doing his watch along as well, and then we will be over on Conor's channel then for the instant match reaction about 10:30. Hopefully with smiles on our faces after Leeds United picked up 3 points. We chat you all again soon. Have a good one. See you in a bit.
Cheers.